Hello everyone and welcome back to the Aquapod, the Scottish Swimming Podcast. I just want to say a personal thanks to everyone for listening to our regular episodes at the start of 2025. Our plan for the rest of the year is for at least fortnightly episodes to drop on Thursdays. This week we take a look at Masters swimming in Scotland with Janet McLean and Eddie Riach from the Scottish Masters Committee. We chat to them about their individual Masters journeys, including international competitions and achievements, the Masters environment and their fun, fitness, friendship motto, and the many opportunities to compete in Scotland. Now I thought I'd take the opportunity before we get into the nitty gritty of the podcast to promote our National Masters long course competition on the 29th and 30th of March. Now there's still plenty of time to get your entries in, as entries close on the 17th of March. The competition, which took place for the first time last year, is the only national long course masters competition in the Scottish calendar. So great opportunity to get some long course swims in, which can act as qualifying times for the British long course masters in the summer, which are being held down in London. So if you are interested in coming along and competing, please access the Scottish National Masters long course page on our national events page on the Scottish Swimming website. Enough of my preamble. I hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks very much, guys, for joining. How are you both doing?
So far, so good.
Thank you.
Very good. Been looking to have a kind of Masters episode for a while, so it'll be great to speak to the both of you. Both obviously very experienced within the kind of Masters community, and both with a lot of experience in competitions and things as well. Eddie, I know recently you've been a European record holder in the 1500. I think it's been taken away from you, has it, recently?
Has it? I didn't realise it was gone.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of the bad news. I was having a look at some records. And Janet, you've won medals as recently as last year, haven't you? Kind of on the European Masters circuit. So,
right.
So you've both had those experiences. I wonder if you want to kind of just start with your own journey into Masters and kind of maybe some of your favourite experiences within the Masters community as well.
Right. Will I go first, Janet?
Yeah, I think so. You've got, because you were right at the beginning of Masters, really, weren't you, Eddie?
I was, yeah. I didn't start swimming until I was 15, so I really was straight in at senior swimming level, and that I did that up to my early to mid 20s, and migrated to water polo, and from that, then the Masters came along at a good time. So, my first Masters competition was in Tokyo, the first World Masters, and I came fourth in 4 events, so that was a good start. I was called Edward the Fourth. So and I basically went to, from that point on, I was going to either World Masters or European Masters every year. And at the mid-age of 45, I was actually swimming faster than I was as a young swimmer. So, So I was quite enjoying that. But as the years have gone on, I've slowed down and calmed down a bit.
Are there any of those sort of championships that stand out to you? Obviously, being at the very first World Masters Championships is a pretty cool accolade, given how far the space has gone since then. But is there any moments that really stand out?
Well, the first one in Tokyo, there was about 4,000 swimmers, but about 3,000 of them were Japanese, and they were very good at the calisthenics at the side of the pool. We were petrified because they were so organised until the coach blew a whistle and they all dived in on top of each other. So that was the first one. That was good. And then in Rio, 4 years later, we were having monkeys coming down and stealing our kit while we were doing the competition. So it was fairly raw times. I think participation numbers then, there was maybe 4,000 swimmers or so at them, but things grew and grew until probably 2004, I think, was Riccione, when there's 12,000 swimmers there. So things had to change a bit in terms of the density of the swimmers. So, and it's great, the young swimmers coming through are actually breaking the records. That's what the records are there for. They're there to be broken. So even if it's mine that's gone, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And Janet as well, how has your kind of experience been so far?
Yeah, good. I mean, I had a very traditional swimming background. I started swimming when I was 8, and I was at Warrender Baths, and I kept swimming until I went to university. And that I was really fortunate because I was a long time at university because I did an undergraduate and then postgraduate PhD, and then so by the time I'd finished, I was 25, which was ideal for masters. So I could do all the university competition, and then at 25, I went straight into masters, which was just brilliant for me. And so I've just kept swimming now in some of the later age groups. But yeah,
But
great.
that's the beauty of masters, isn't it? Every 5 years you get put in a different
That's
age
right.
group, and actually you get to sort of set your own times again. And
I
even
heard
though,
somebody in the warm up saying that the other day, going, I'm in a new age group, all new PBs.
yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's a kind of positive way of looking at it, but
Yeah.
actually it's nice as well when you get to, set new times and not have to worry too much about, what you've done previously. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and I've not been to any World Masters, though I'm maybe hoping to go this year to Singapore, but
Fab.
but I have been to a few Europeans, and we've always had a great time sort of traveling, having a sort of journey there. Our sort of most infamous travel, the one that we talk about the most, is we actually went to Yalta, and that took a sort of train journey now, which you couldn't do actually,
Wow.
from Kiev to Sevastopol, which was about 18 hours overnight. And it was some journey. And then when we got off and we got on a minibus, which was terrifying, all the way to Yalta. So yeah, things like that. It's always been great fun. The swimming there was in a hotel pool where they'd emptied the pool where the dolphins swam or something like that. It was really like bizarre. Yeah, it's really just great traveling around, seeing different venues, and
Mhm.
we often see the same the same competitors at
Of course.
Europeans, and see them every few years, and that's always good.
And I guess like from those sort of humble, beginnings and sort of early masters, Europeans and things like that, you were the most recent ones, Janet. What were those like, and what was it like to win another kind of 3 silver medals? Is it quite a cool experience,
It
sort of
is.
being able to do that?
Yeah. I mean, the last one was interesting, going to Belgrade. It's not somewhere I would have maybe chosen to go, as a sort of tourist. So, um, yeah, a little bit different. I would like to have some outside, I suppose. The pool
Yeah.
had an unusual roof, which for the backstrokers found a little bit difficult.
Oh
But,
wow, right.
but yeah, but yeah, it's still good. Yeah, you said 3 silvers. I got a gold before in the one before. So sometimes
Oh right, okay. Oh
sometimes a
dear.
little step down. No, I
Yeah,
was quite happy.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny because in each ones, I think, apart from the 200 free, I got beaten by somebody from the UK. So
Oh.
it's like a home championships a lot of the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that, both of you, there's such a strong masters community within Britain, isn't there? And, a couple of years ago we held the British Championships in Aberdeen, and it'll be our chance to do it again soon. Is it almost that, we're one of the most competitive nations in the world at masters, and it's kind of a little bit like that you just see very familiar faces?
Well, I think we're certainly competitive. We're well organised, but then probably if you look to America, they're a different league altogether.
Mm.
And then the Southern Hemisphere, there's Australia and the Canadians. Britain is organised, obviously. Probably things like qualifying times are now becoming prevalent because the
Mm.
events are so popular, and British swimming has sort of led the way in that. Um, so. But it's good, and yeah, because it's so solid in the UK, then you tend to be racing against the same swimmers as you age up through the age groups.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get to my age, there's less swimmers.
Yeah.
But you're racing people. I've raced a guy in Moscow in 1973 in the World Student Games, and he thrashed everybody, and I beat him in Rio in 1990.
Yeah.
And
Result.
I've met him occasionally on and off since. So, and that's a great thing about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's good
That's amazing, I
comradeship.
guess. Yeah, like people from across the world that you've got that connection to through a sport, and you meet them maybe, sparingly, but it's these moments that bring you together, and it's quite a unique kind of, no, it's not sport, it's swimming, but it's a unique way of doing that, isn't it? And still having that competitive side, but also that kind of social side as well.
The social side is a really big aspect, I think, for most of us that are still doing it, same friends. But yeah, I think, Eddie, when you look at because World Aquatics bring out a top 10 of masters at times for, each age group, each event. I think when you look through that, there's a lot of British swimmers listed in those top 10s. So I'd say that's pretty healthy in Great Britain.
Yeah, healthy, and probably that's one of the big challenges because it's so popular now.
Popular.
And the competition, we've got to be, thinking of ways to bring the new swimmers into it. And the young age groups are coming up through it, and they're tearing apart the record books as they come, bringing the scientific application to the sport that perhaps lacked 30 years ago and beyond. But the challenges are also to have a product for the swimmers who are not wanting to compete at that level. There's a lot of swimming, a lot of fun, and a lot of comradeship within masters that doesn't actually involve traveling the world to pick up gold medals, as occasionally we do.
I guess your motto is fun, fitness, friendship, right? So, so far we've spoke about that kind of competitive side of masters, but actually for a lot of people, they might not even compete. It might just be that they come and train a couple of times a week or once a week. And I was looking through some of the archives, Eddie, and I found an interview with yourself from Scottish Swimming about 10 years ago. I know, dangerous. But it was quite a nice quote, and you said, when you walk out onto the poolside at a Masters club, you'll instantly see that it's normal people of various shapes and sizes. There will be people who are working 12 hours a day in an office or have other things going on in their lives, but they are making time for a sport that keeps them fit and gives them the chance to socialise with other like-minded people. There will be a few with chiseled bodies, but Masters is as inclusive as it gets. So, well, really nice bits there. Yeah, I know. But I thought, that summed it up perfectly, right? It's something for everyone, and both of you are on the Masters Committee for Scottish Swimming. What is that approach? Do you just want it to be as open as possible for people?
Yeah, I think at Masters committees in the Scottish Committee, we're certainly mindful that there's a large number of registered masters who don't elect to compete. So we've got to be mindful of if we can offer products for them. For example, some of the smaller club meets like Ren 96, Inverclyde and Perth Masters are an ideal opportunity for them where it's less serious, it's short course, and they can come in and do a couple of swims and see how they get on. So it's good that we can make them available for these potential newcomers.
Yeah, and any other things like the technique sessions, that they're often for people that's not necessarily for competing. Some people are there just to improve their efficiency so that they can help their fitness and things like that. So trying to think of things that they would like to take part in.
Yeah, and if someone that was that had maybe swam when they were younger at a really young age, maybe been in a club for a couple of years, and then had wanted to come back to Masters, say in their mid-30s or 40s, what would your kind of advice be to them? Because people maybe be a bit apprehensive or not quite sure where to start. What's the kind of go-to for both of you for the first approach in that situation?
Well, I actually coach a Masters squad at Carnegie, so so that you're really like that's just right. I get people that have been swimming before, and if they wanted to take part, I usually suggest that if they want to take, if they're thinking about it, that they go to one of the smaller galas that Eddie mentioned before. So, for example, in the East District Masters, if they've not been a swimmer before, there's the opportunity to do 25s there. So they put a 25 on of every stroke, and they can come and just watch and see what the atmosphere is like as well, a bit, because I think if they've been a swimmer before, they might be thinking it's very serious, and everybody's going for PBs and it's all, and then they'll find that everybody's just chatting about all sorts, and the swimming's part of it, and it's a good, it's good fun, but it's more about the sort of, relationships between people. So yeah, I usually, I think East District Masters is a good one, and like Eddie mentioned, things like the Rin meet and Perth meet, if that goes ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the Masters meets are. I've been lucky enough to been at a few, and it's definitely a different kind of feel, isn't it, compared to like your typical open meet or national meet. It's very relaxed, and it's almost like, I guess, the equivalent for people who, if you're a runner, like a kind of park run type feel. It's sort of people are obviously wanting to do their best and do their personal best, but it's a lot more about the community, and people go and have a chat and they maybe have a coffee afterwards and things. So it's just a really nice environment, and I think if people were to see that a little bit more, and maybe come along, like you say, Janet, then they would probably give it a shot.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
Definitely, and it is about the community spirit. I mean, it's not the first time I've missed my swim because I've been too busy talking to somebody. Not that there's a bad thing. The ones I've missed are ones I'm glad I missed.
Yeah. You've maybe missed them, not by accident, Eddie, by the sounds of it, but yeah. But I guess that just shows that that community's there, and it's just less about less sort of pressure, but it's still about focusing on being the best version of yourself as well. Within kind of some of the stuff we've been doing at Scottish Swimming over the past year, we've started a new campaign called Never Too Late, and there's sort of been a bit of look at masters swimming and things, but also sort of the masters space within the likes of diving and artistic swimming as well. Is that something that you are both seeing a little bit more of as well? I know you're both more within the swimming side of things, but I know, Janet, in Fife there's a kind of masters artistic group and things. So
I haven't personally seen. I've talked to somebody who's done some masters diving, I think in Dundee, but where we have seen it at the European Masters. If we go to the events, there's certainly I would say a growing number of people taking part in the other disciplines as well. That they had the full aquatics, water polo, artistic swimming, diving. And it's great to see. It's great when we're in venues where we can actually watch the other disciplines as well. Sometimes we're a little bit spread out, but there has been times where we can watch the other disciplines.
Yeah, I think probably the Masters Swimming group is obviously the large group, and occasionally in the past maybe somebody's going there diving. Take some comfort in knowing that there's a crowd of Scots there, some of whom they'll know from diving in the pool or whatever. The water polo as well, the water polo teams that come along as well, I think. I think that'll expand, and it might be that the Masters Swimming Committee have to be mindful of how we liaise with other disciplines going to these meets, so we keep the Scottish identity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've touched on it a little bit earlier, but there's now loads of opportunities competitive wise within Masters Swimming in Britain and in Scotland as well. Be it from sort of club meets to district to national. What are maybe some of those opportunities, if you want to share, throughout the year that people could maybe have a look at and think about focusing on as well?
Well, we mentioned the small club galas. It's nice to see Inverclyde having started back with competitions. They have one at the beginning of March. Ren 96 have one in August, and Perth usually is September. I think they're planning putting one on. There's one in Dundee, but that's a long course. These are the ones available in Scotland. If you go to England, they have competitions every weekend throughout England, but England's north, south, east, west as well. So they have a lot more competitions available in a geographic area. But I think we have a nice group of events that would help the beginner, as it were. And even a straight beginner or somebody who used to swim, has been out for so many years, and lifestyle changes, children leave home or children go to university, when this is nice, and you start having more time. So I think there's a fair range in Scotland, and if they want to travel south of the border, then there's something every single weekend.
Yeah, we've obviously just had one in Aberdeen. The Silver City Blues meet was last Saturday.
Yes.
So we've got a nice sort of spread across the year, different galas that people can go to.
Yeah. The Silver City one last weekend had a load of records, including a world record, records,
wow.
European records, British records. I mean, that was a surprisingly high number, I would say.
Yeah, Greg sort of collated them all together, didn't he? And it was amazing to see a huge long list of. He'd have had a very busy day on the recorder's table.
It's I've tried to do that job before, being on Record Alert, but it's definitely not an easy one for Masters, looking at all the different age groups and whatnot, and the male and female side. So it's not an easy job, but that is one of the exciting parts actually of being at a Masters competition as well, seeing those come in, especially at kind of a British meet where you get all the British records and there's lots of European and things as well. So it's definitely a kind of exciting side of it, isn't it? And we've got our new long course meet as well in Scotland. First one was last year, and it's happening again this year in March. And the entries are still open for that. A little bit of a plug for that.
Well,
until March, I believe, mid-March. So
it's an interesting point. I looked at the number of entries to date, and in actual fact, there's a group of swimmers who swam in the Olympics with David Wilkie, and obviously he passed away last year. And Warner are organising a team to do a relay.
Fantastic.
And well, unfortunately for me, 3 of them are in my age group. Yeah, so there's Gordon Downey coming over from America. There's Wilson Mills coming from Norway, and we're still waiting to see Alan McClatchy's entry. So
okay.
Yeah. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, that's positive from with your chair hat on, isn't it? But less so with your swimmer's cap on, Eddie, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
Yeah,
I don't really mind.
It is a good gala. It's like, it's just really great to have an opportunity to swim long course every year in Scotland. Some masters feel a little bit unsure about swimming long course, so we're really trying to encourage them, because if you're going to like the Europeans or the Worlds, most of them will be long course. There is a European short course coming up soon as well, but most of the main events are long course. So to have an opportunity to compete long course in Scotland is just ideal, setting them up for going to the bigger events. And it's always great to be in Aberdeen. I love that pool. So
yes, it's a brilliant venue, isn't it? And I guess also from the perspective of, we're talking about kind of younger swimmers coming through, a lot of them are used to swimming long course, right? So it almost helps with that transition from the kind of that 18 to 24 upper sort of younger age group then into the Masters piece. So it kind of is a nicer transition, isn't it, towards that?
Yeah.
Well, a nice transition to long course. I'm
I
not
love
so
long
sure
course.
about it.
I'm one of the strange. I think growing up in Edinburgh and swimming at the Commie most mornings, I think I just really like swimming long course. But I think that's one of the things I would say that's really changed in terms of Masters swimming from sort of when I was first aware of it. Like, they always had a Masters squad at Warrender when I was there. And I was aware of older swimmers, older to me then. But if you were sort of 18 to 24 at that age, you were kind of lost if you weren't sort of right at the very top of swimming. And I think having that younger age group, we've mentioned it before, it really does make a big difference. Having an event like Scottish Masters, you can still go to that and be at a national event in that sort of age group. So I think that's great.
And it helps almost with that kind of retention of people in the sport as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just those extra opportunities for, if you're maybe not quite making sort of open championships or national championships, there's still that route into a national Masters championship, and that there's so many opportunities for people, isn't there, to and enter as many events as you like, pretty much. So that's the kind of positive side of it.
Yeah, I think our competition at the end of March it gives people the opportunities to get a qualifying time for the GB Masters, which are going to be in London Aquatic Centre in June this year, which is a great treat to go back there and enjoy it. It's a very popular pool. So I think we'll find we've got English competitors coming up just to get the opportunity to log the times. So the swimming should be quite entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And they've announced that's going to be there every 2 years, I believe, isn't it? I think that was announced last year. So it'll obviously go between the home nations and then return there on a kind of biannual basis. So
Yeah,
every time it's in
that's
England,
exciting.
it's in London.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's in London this year, and next year it comes back to Scotland, and we've already pre-booked Aberdeen Sports Village for that, because obviously there's a bit of uncertainty about Tollcross availability. So we've got next year lined up. We've got the date set. It's pre-booked, and it seems to be very popular for English swimmers because they can fly in. So, yeah.
I guess it's worth stressing that as well. You don't need to be a Scottish swimmer. You can come up from down south, or we get European swimmers coming across as well, don't we? So it's a great opportunity, and one that would welcome as many people to take advantage of as possible.
Yeah, we don't ask for passports.
Yeah, I guess just before we kind of wrap up, and again, thanks very much for your time. I wanted just to ask you both about the kind of future of Masters swimming, and it's probably quite a kind of broad sort of topic and question, but where do you see it going? Because I think more and more we're seeing people give it a go that have maybe been in that competitive space. You know, we had Dan Wallace at the last year at both the long course and the short course Masters, who's obviously an Olympian and won Commonwealth gold. Do you think that it will go more down the route of competitiveness, or do you think it'll always retain that sort of participation element as well, and that kind of fun side of competition even at the top level?
I think the competition level, chasing the dragon as it's called, I think that will persist, and as the younger generations come through into the older they'll bring that with them, the competitiveness that they have. I think that'll be quite sustainable. I think will happen, we might need to have the sort of lesser galas and club galas available on a sort of what did they do in age groups? It was a development squad level. They had cut-off times if you're faster than them. Graded meets, that's the word.
Yeah, graded, yes.
So you might well have Masters graded meets. And it doesn't have to be full formal competitions. It could be time trials between clubs. I think that's a good way of the companionship and camaraderie, the sport to be spread. So I think opportunities at that level is probably, in my opinion, the way forward.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is going to be about pool time, I think, for Masters. I mean, at Carnegie we've sort of had this Masters squad just going for a few years now, and it's really proven popular, and so then it's like, then you're like, do we need more space? And and I think that's going to be the sort of challenge going forward, is yes, we want to keep more people in the sport, but then we have to find space for all of these people to be able to train, at the level that they want to train, and so I think that is going to be a bit of a challenge.
I think that's the same, it's the same across
any age group.
Aquatic sports, isn't it? And all age groups. So it's
I think there's also an opportunity to link in more with open water. There's always been a fairly proportionate participation of Masters that go to district and national meets in Scotland, and they've made up the numbers really. So I think there's more opportunities there. There's people they call it dipping. There's a happy medium, in my opinion, between dipping and competition training.
Yeah, and doing a 10K open water swim, Eddie. It is a nice kind of, it's a different way of kind of exploring the sport as well, isn't it?
Yeah, there's also the ice swimming. That there's guys just come back from Italy where they swam in water that was ridiculously cold.
Yes. Draw the line at that one.
I think so. I think I did an article on that last year and looked into it, and it, the fact that it needs to be below 5 degrees and whatnot, puts me off, to be honest. But the adrenaline and the dopamine hits, it's probably what helps with that. But but no, fantastic. I think that's quite a nice way to wrap up, and I think I agree with the both of you as well. There always will be that fun element, and that competitive side will come from that as well, even if there is a kind of raising quality, from time to time as well. So thanks very much for both of you giving up your time this evening, and really appreciate it again.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks again to listening to what I thought was a really interesting episode of the Aquapod, and thanks again to Eddie and Janet for popping on. Remember, you can still enter the Scottish National Masters Long Course competition up in Aberdeen, with entries closing on the 17th of March. To access all the information you need, please visit the Scottish Swimming website. Thanks again for listening to the episode, and please consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. See you on the next episode.